to the Peninsula Covenant Community Center. This place is almost 50 years old, and it's been part of Peninsula Covenant Church for well over 30 years. I try to come here at least twice a week to work out and just to have a presence for a number of reasons. The people that work out here are some of the greatest people you'll ever meet all over the peninsula. The staff that serves here are just tremendous people. But I always get encouraged coming here because this place stands to me as a place of a symbol of risk, and how our church has always taken the risk to trust God and do some irrational stuff. I've actually read through the minutes of the council meetings way back in the 70s when the church was building the sanctuary that we utilize now, and talking through could they really absorb the risk when this place came up for sale of adding that and then $1 million bridge in addition to all the debt they're incurring already. It's just fascinating to see how the leaders of the church just said, we got to go for it. This is a kairos moment. We've got to take this advantage. And then to know that the people in the church at that time actually took out second mortgages and did crazy stuff so that more and more people could hear the gospel. I love this place. And on our watch, I pray that we would steward it well, and we are, for the glory of God. But something else strikes me about being here. As we talk this week about contentment, really this place exists and makes its profit on lack of contentment. It's a lack of contentment that drives people to hop in the pool on a rather cold, overcast morning. It's a lack of contentment that drives people up in the gym right now. There's probably 50 people up there doing something called group power, a great weight experience that causes pain, actually, so that growth can happen. It's lack of contentment that drives the weight room and the cardio room and the spinning room and the tennis courts, and everything else around here thrives on a lack of contentment. There's good contentment and bad contentment. And this place focuses on bad contentment and not being satisfied with what you are so that you can become more. But what we want to talk about this week in our Love series is actually good contentment. Scripture talks a lot about contentment. How would you define it? Watch this video of different interviews on the street and how people interact with this whole topic of contentment. Watch this.
What does it mean to be content?
Content. That's out of my vocabulary.
Ooh, what does it mean to be content?
Contentment. I don't know.
Just to be satisfied.
I guess being satisfied with something.
Find, I guess, an inner peace with yourself, being happy with who you are.
Not let your wants outweigh what you have.
I guess it means to be happy. Not really want anything else, I guess.
I guess it means all right with how you are.
Being okay with what's going on. Not necessarily being entirely happy about it, like having a positive sense, but also not having a negative sense.
You're not worried about what other people think about you.
Contentment is having the Lord on your side.
Are you a content person?
Am I content? No, I don't think I'm content.
No, I'm not content.
No, I don't think I'm very content.
I don't think I'm very content, actually.
Some days, you know, I'm happier than others.
Are you content with your life?
Not at the moment.
Sometimes.
I would consider myself a very content person.
I'd say I am, yeah.
I think I could be a better person sometimes.
Is there anything that could happen to make you more content with your life?
There's always things that can make you more content with your life.
Probably just more money right now.
Finding I guess, this perfect soulmate and all those, you know, stereotypical things.
Get a good job, provide for my daughter and myself without having to rely on everybody else.
What is your source of contentment?
Just feeling complete in myself.
Try to keep a positive outlook. That makes me content.
Having my bills paid makes it a lot easier to be content.
Some material possessions help.
What's the source of your contentment?
I suppose my mother.
Just following my emotions, sort of a transcendentalist, romanticist.
Why do you think most people are not content with their lives?
I have no clue. I don't know, there's just something missing, I guess.
Honestly, I mean, I think that they're searching.
We live in a materialistic society, and everybody thinks that when they get the bigger car, the bigger house, or the nicer pool, they're going to be happy.
Everybody's reaching for something.
Gotta have money, gotta have looks, gotta have all these things.
People want more money, better cars, bigger houses.
People don't really have a purpose, like a reason to get up in the morning.
They don't have Jesus.
They are searching for something to fill that void, and they're not going to find it.
I think a lot of people need Jesus just for the fulfillment in their lives. They try to fill their lives with so many things that just don't fill the void.
Could be music, could be drugs, could be anything, and there's no otherworldly peace that they can have.
You're never going to have that satisfaction, that fulfillment, unless you have him.
He is a lot of the contentment that people are looking for.
You know, when it comes to this issue of contentment, you can't talk about it without going to the Apostle Paul. In the book of Philippians, he actually wrote about contentment at the end of his letter. Paul was an amazing man, and by the time he's writing Philippians, he's actually in prison, and he's wondering whether or not he's going to survive or not. At one point, he talks about, I don't know if I'll live or die, and he goes down the road of each. He talks in there about having so much at one point, and now having so little, and yet he ends that passage in the book, in chapter 4, with this great passage on contentment. Let's look what he says. Philippians chapter 4, verse 10 to 13. This is what he says. And as we read this, let me just mine for you, and you can fill it in your booklet, some issues on helping you grow in contentment. Okay, some factors that I think will aid you. Here we go. Philippians chapter 4, verse 10 to 13. This is what Paul says. I rejoice greatly in the Lord that at last you have renewed your concern for me. Indeed, you have been concerned, but you had no opportunity to show it. I'm not saying this because I'm in need, for I have learned to be content whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living with plenty or in want. I can do everything through him who gives me strength. The scriptures say very clearly that godliness with contentment is great gain. And so let me give you 3 keys that I see in Philippians chapter 4 on how to grow in contentment. We all need this, especially in our culture that just magnifies really what this club is built on. It grows off of discontent. You will be countercultural and will stand out if you can walk with contentment. Here's the first key I would encourage you. Avoid comparison. In Philippians 4, verse 10 to 11, Paul says this, I rejoice greatly in the Lord that at last you've renewed your concern for me. Indeed, you have been concerned, but you had no opportunity to show it. I'm not saying this because I'm in need, for I have learned to be content whatever the circumstance.